we go. The gate drop in Texas. Here they come into the woods. Webb tries to get inside. Oh, contact to the line. It's Webb. Cooper Webb beats him to the line. Unbelievable.
Daggone, that was sweet. I mean, that was historical.
And Ralph Shaheen has not had a voice since then. It has already been a wild Supercross season, but that moment on the face of the finish line jump last week in Texas goes in the books, at least for now, as the closest finish in Supercross history. You just heard Ralph Shaheen's call. He and Ricky Carmichael recap how it all went down.
What an incredible finish here in Arlington, Texas, as Cooper Webb wins his 4th race of the year, this time by just 0.02 of a second. And he did it over Ken Roczen. What a crazy race.
That was a fantastic night of racing. And I'm going to tell you, I thought Cooper Webb spent way too much time behind Blake Baggett and wasn't going to be able to catch the leading pack, but boy, was I wrong.
Well, here's how that last lap unfolded.
You can see right here, he's all over Ken. Perfect position. He blitzes the whoops, gets on top of him. He's going to cut up the inside, use up all the track, and I thought it was over. He slipped, ticket coming out of the corner, and it was over, just like that.
And he could have raced him even harder right there. He could have gotten into him, but he stayed pretty clean. It was an amazing finish, Will. Cooper Webb wins it by 0.02 of a second.
Thanks, Ralph. Cooper, what an incredible night for you. That was a battle like we haven't seen yet all season between you and Ken Roczen. Talk me through what was going through your mind, because when we spoke about it earlier, you said you just couldn't give up.
That's all that was going through my mind. I had a bad start, and I knew it was going to be a tough main event to get passes and bounce back, but I just charged. You know, I really wanted to get up front, and was able to get around some guys, got around Joey, got around Blake. He was riding really good, and then was able to get Marv later on, and there was only one guy left, and I really I didn't think I was close enough, but I got some good laps, some good lines, and just never gave up, man. That's, I know it's cliche, but that's proof. You never give up. You never know what can happen, and, you know, the photo finish like that, I don't think that's ever happened, and man, what a night. You know, the irony of that battle is insane. So it's awesome, and I just, hey, I'm sure Ricky knows what it's like. You got to risk it for the biscuit.
Congratulations. Go and enjoy it with your team, Cooper.
Well, it does go down as the closest finish in history. You talked about this being a statement race. What does Cooper know now?
Well, he knows that he can beat Ken Roczen no matter what. He came from way back, 7th place on the first lap, and it brought me back to 2001 when I was racing the king of Supercross, Jeremy McGrath. I didn't win that night, but I was able to follow him. I was able to slow up, pull back in, slow up, pull back in, and I knew, you know, I said to myself about halfway through, I said, I don't even care if I win this race, because mentally I know that there's no way this guy's going to beat me the rest of the series. And he didn't. I went on to win 14 races in a row. And I feel that this night was that for Cooper Webb.
And on the flip side, it's a negative for Ken Roczen, because he's wondering, what have I got to do?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's going to have a challenge ahead of him. I mean, as much as he wants to use it for fire, that was a huge boost of confidence for Cooper Webb to know that, dude, I don't have to get a good start. I can come from behind and beat you.
Well, here's the points, and they're still close because Ken Roczen is still not finished outside of the top 5. He was on the podium again, and he's only 2 behind Cooper. And look, he is certainly capable of getting a win. And maybe he comes next week in Detroit. That's where we're headed next. For right now, we head back to the studio.
Okay, we saw it was wild. AJ, I'm guessing you were watching that Texas event live. What was your reaction when Webb caught Roczen?
I mean, I basically just came out of my seat like the fans there in Arlington. It was a race that was insane. And Ricky Carmichael talked about it, how he was down. Cooper Webb was down 6.5 seconds. I marked it down with 10 minutes to go in the race. He was down 6.5 seconds to Ken Roczen. And at the time, he was about 4th place. So he had to get through a couple of riders and run him down. And then he sat behind him for about 3 or 4 minutes. It looked like, man, you know what? Maybe it's not going to happen. And then he makes that last corner move. And it put it perfect. The fact that he knows that he can get Ken Roczen whenever he wants now. that moment right there, even though it was his 4th win, it's to me his biggest win, and it's something that he will play off of the rest of the year. And Ken Roczen, I think that's the 3rd pass this year on the last lap where he's either lost the lead or lost 2nd place. At some point, it just starts wearing on you. Am I ever going to get this done again?
And the cool thing about that pass, to me, as a car racer, is that is like their version of dooring someone, right? Like that pass right there was so cool because he comes up and they basically almost both fell over. But, you know, that knocked them both adrift. And then it was nailing the throttle and seeing who could get the most power down. So that was really cool. But, you know, you bring up a point about Ken Roczen and how that kind of hurts him mentally is that, you know, one of the things I don't think people always notice or realize about Supercross is it's incredibly physical. And it's incredibly physical because you also have to mentally overcome the physicality of it. And the reason you have those late race passes and such is because those guys are physically tired. Although they work out so much, you're on that bike for 20 minutes, you get the arm pump, how incredibly physical it is, and now you've just been defeated mentally as well. So that's, I think, it's going to be really tough, as you and Ricky both said, to overcome this.
And what about what Ricky said? I mean, leave it to whether you're a rider or a driver. You guys just don't forget things. He brought up a race from 18 years ago and said, this is what it takes me back to. So you can show how competitive
I mean,
it is.
you build off moments like that in good or bad ways. Yeah.